What is going on, guys? Rewinds here, and in this video we are going to be talking about the Minato one-shot manga. And I decided to upload this a little later than I thought I would because some big Boruto news had dropped yesterday. So I'm like, why not drop this the next day? Just because I needed to take a moment as well to really collect my thoughts on this, because I do have a lot to say, and I'm pretty excited to talk about it. So let's start with that. So first things first, we started off with a few color pages, and pretty much they show Minato and Jiraiya, as well as Minato's teammates, which I'm sure are under Jiraiya as well, fighting both the 4 and 5 Tails Jinchurikis. And we know at this time that we have the Third Great Ninja War going on. So to me, this is already an exciting start. I love little expansion things like this. And to be honest, to put it bluntly, I think if Kishimoto wanted to come back once or twice a year to do a one-shot, that would be very welcome, especially with how this turned out. It was just very, I guess the best word to say is it was just very fun to read. It felt very refreshing. It felt nice to see everybody again in the story that we hadn't seen in some time, and some characters were getting some shine that probably hadn't gotten any before or didn't have much. But it was really cool to see what characters he used in this, and overall, I do hope that he considers doing more of these like lore expanding one-shots in the future. Anyway, back to what happened here and what I thought of it, kind of how it went. So we have a pretty great double spread towards the start of 2 tail beast bombs, or Biju bombs, whatever you want to call them, being launched at Minato and Jiraiya and the 2 teammates, and they only evade and survive this thanks to Minato's flying Raijin jutsu. And that's cool to see, because honestly I don't know if Jiraiya would have survived that. I have no doubt that the others wouldn't have really made it. Maybe Minato somehow could have dodged on his own too, but the characters most relevant to the story later on are Minato and Jiraiya. So it's crazy to think they could have just been done for there. But this encounter is very important because this leads to part of the premise of this whole one-shot. So pretty much after this near-death experience, Minato realizes that Kushina has something this powerful inside her too, and that being the 9 tailed beast. So then we cut over to Kushina, who is actually waking up from a nightmare at the time of her talking to a shadowy figure of Kurama. And I just want to say, it feels great seeing a one-shot of this again, or just seeing a one-shot in general done by Kishimoto, because he hasn't lost a beat when it comes to the art. The art is still beautiful. The storytelling is still beautiful. It's just all there from, how it used to be. So it's really nice to see that back. And I'm personally really glad that Kishimoto, especially more nowadays, it sounds like he's contributing ever since the chapter like 50's end. He's contributing a little more and more to Boruto on the writing end, which is really nice as well. So I'm just glad he's more involved again. So Kushina has guards with her all the time at this point of the story, and she's looking forward to working on sealing jutsus with Minato that day. And Minato ends up showing up, and she ends up getting really excited, but he tells her that he's actually going to be working on a different jutsu today, so he's not going to be doing sealing jutsu with her. And she gets upset about that because Minato wouldn't tell her what kind of jutsu it is, and she just starts assuming that he doesn't want to spend time with her because, at this point of the story, Kushina's like madly in love with Minato, and Minato definitely really cares about her too, but Minato has, some other priorities in his head right now, which ends up connecting to Kushina anyway at the end of the day. So Minato ends up leaving with his teammates to report the recent mission, them evading and surviving that big attack. And Kushina can't follow him, or she'll be out of this barrier zone, which kind of keeps the 9 tails intact in her. And right then, she defies them, and she ends up binding the guards with her chain attack. And I'm sure a lot of you guys might remember this chain attack she has. She used this in the flashback of the whole day where Minato and her died, and she also used it to help Naruto end up getting Kuruma's power. So she used that chain, and it was also cool. It was explained how she got that chain attack as well, and it turns out she learned it from the first Hokage's wife, I believe, who was the previous Nine Tails Jinchuriki. So after she binds the guard, she escapes, and now as she got out of the barrier zone, Kuruma is now trying to make her give in to hate, and the main reason she didn't give in to hate is because of Minato. That's kind of like her one shining light that keeps her on the path of good. Kind of how Naruto had to find one at the start of the series, which turned out to be Iruka. So, kind of same concept, but a little different, but it's just about having that one person. So then we cut over to Minato and Jiraiya, who are training right now, and this jutsu that Minato is working on is indeed the Rasengan. And at the moment, it isn't very stable, and it discharges early, so a lot of work to still be done. And Jiraiya then, after a little bit of training, is giving Minato a ice popsicle, which is a cool little reference right there, because we know how that went with Naruto and how he gave him that as well. And it's kind of sad when you think about it, and you think of what happened to Jiraiya and everything, but it's a cool little connecting moment. And then as he's getting this from Jiraiya, or as Jiraiya's offering this to him, it hits Minato that what he's got to do is end up needing chakra in both directions. And then after that, we get an awesome panel of the Rasengan taking form. One of my favorite panels easily in this one-shot manga. And if you guys haven't read it yet, definitely go check it out. It's 100% worth the read. And it's only, I think, 55 pages. It wouldn't even take you guys that long. It's probably a little bit more than your average monthly Boruto chapter. So after Minato forms this Rasengan, he actually ends up giving it a ridiculously long name. And of course, that's like, his habit, if you guys remember. He was doing that during the war too when he came back. And after that, Jiraiya actually leaves to head out on a mission. And a little after, Minato actually catches Kushina spying on him. And pretty much she reveals herself and she apologizes for getting upset with him earlier. And she asks him again about this jutsu because now she's seen it. And Minato explains that he's been working on this jutsu specifically to protect her. And he says it's mainly because he doesn't want to lose her. So, this is focusing on a lot of their dynamic as well, because we know, they get together and eventually Naruto's their kid and all that. But this is like a great, build up in my opinion, showing a little bit more of these two together. So, right then, as he's talking to her, Kuruma actually takes over Kushina, and Minato gets hit by one of the tails. And Minato charges back in despite taking a big blow, and he tries using a sealing jutsu and pretty much says that he loves Kushina. And that's pretty much because, Kushina's kind of being consumed a little bit now. Not necessarily by hate of her own, but Kuruma's really trying to get her to turn that way. And I want to say this, it's also really interesting seeing Kuruma like this again, because I'm so used to seeing Kuruma, befriended and everything now. So it's interesting to see this side of Kuruma again. And I do want to say R.I.P. To him as well. I mean, I do wonder if there's going to be some way they end up bringing him back at some point. I don't know how they do that. I don't know if it's a possibility, but you never know. Okay, so next we flash back over to Kushina. She has a flashback, and it's pretty much with the previous Nine Tails Jinchuriki, and she gets an example of a spiral. And she's told that if she has the will to climb that spiral, that she can find love. So, I want to connect this to a Boruto thing going on right now. So, if you guys have seen the latest title for Boruto Part 2, the Two Blue Vortex. Amazing title choice because, well, I mean, it could maybe do without the two, but I guess it makes sense why it's there. But I think great title choice in general because we literally have a reference going on in this one-shot manga, and Kishimoto goes and connects that from there straight into what's actually happening into the Boruto events right there. I love little stuff like that. These little moments of foreshadowings and connectings are really cool. And yeah, I'm talking about foreshadowing because this does connect to that in a foreshadowing kind of way. And there's also another moment in this chapter towards the end that foreshadows something. So I really love when Kishimoto does stuff like that, as well as other authors. It's pretty cool to see. Moving forward, what we have after that is Kushina ends up remembering that flashback, so she ends up hitting Kurama with some of her chains on the inside to help Minato out. And at this moment, Kurama is still taking her over, and now has Kushina in a seven-tail state, which, if you guys remember, is really, really tough because Naruto back in the day in the four-tail state was given some problems to a weakened Orochimaru as well as Jiraiya getting caught off guard. But nonetheless, you guys get what I mean. And so now she's in this seven-tail state, and Minato actually ends up getting pierced big time through the stomach. So what ends up happening to pretty much end this fight off is Minato goes in at a weakened Kurama, who's now out in the Nine Tails form, and uses his Rasengan against a Biju bomb. And we don't really get to see who wins that, but I wouldn't say Minato necessarily won, but he probably did enough for Kushina to regain control at least. Or maybe after that, Jiraiya and Tsunade showed up and maybe did a little something too. We really don't know because we didn't really get to see that part. We just flash over next to Minato reawakening in a hospital bed with Jiraiya and Tsunade around. And as soon as Kushina sees him wake up, she immediately goes and hugs him. And then after, we're out of the hospital and all, Minato then later tells her that he used the Biju bombs, or the Tail Beast bombs, that he faced in the battle at the start of the chapter for reference for this jutsu, so that Kushina would have a jutsu of her own to combat them if they fought. So in reality, this is a jutsu that he learned for himself, of course, but he also learned this so he could teach this to Kushina, so she could use it if she was ever in danger. And that just shows, how much Kushina means to him. And it's also a very wholesome way, I feel like, of having the Rasengan invented. Because, as you guys can see, Minato's desire is pretty strong to protect her. And this is the steps he took to get her there. Unfortunately, they didn't really live long enough to, I guess, have Kushina learn it. But the intention was still there, And after that, more towards the end of the one shot, we have Kushina take Minato up this spiral staircase spot. And from there, up at the top, there's a Hokage face view. And then we see her name this jutsu, the Rasengan. And Minato smiles and says that he likes the name. And pretty much we close out with this final panel or final page area where we have Minato's face smiling next to the Hokage stone faces. And it's one of my favorite moments of the chapter because this is another one of those great instances of foreshadowing of what's to come in the future. I know it's technically not foreshadowing in a way because Naruto happened like a while back, but if you're still connecting things like how they are, then it's like a good little panel that's added in there to show that Minato will be the next Hokage. So I really liked that. I appreciated it. And all in all, I really, really enjoyed this one shot. Not much to complain about. I guess like the only iffy thing, if I were to find a complaint, is it is interesting that Minato, using his Rasengan, was able to, I guess, stop Kurama, even though Kurama was really weakened at that moment. But again, we don't really know if he stopped Kurama himself or if someone else intervened. I guess Kishimoto kind of left that as more of like a blank spot for us to kind of theorize a little bit. But nonetheless, it is interesting that he went up against a Tail Beast Bomb, and he was using his Rasengan and was able to survive. He definitely got damaged really badly, but I've seen some people complain that he survived that. To me, it doesn't really bug me that much. But I guess if I were to really nitpick, maybe that's one part that could have been a little better in some sort of way from writing. But that's about it. All in all, though, great one shot. Love the art. Love the story. Great moments. Great characters. Yeah, I honestly partly wish that we could get Kishimoto back to draw some art in Boruto sometimes, because I enjoy his art style a lot more than Ikimoto's. Although Ikimoto really isn't that bad. He's definitely improved a lot over the course of his time on Boruto. There's just some times where he might get a little repetitive on some things, like the speed lines in the fights. He used to do that a lot more. I'm hoping, though, that he just keeps improving, and the Boruto manga can start looking better and better as it keeps going on, especially now that we're entering time skip mode. So that would be nice. But yeah, all in all, I'm gonna give this one shot somewhere around. Honestly, I really want to give it a 10, and maybe you guys can say I gave it a 10. I'm gonna go somewhere in the realm of a 9.5 to a 10. Maybe a 9 if I really pushed it down, but no less than that. But I'm gonna stick with like 9.5 to a 10 out of 10. I really loved it, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend you guys go check it out. And yeah, that's gonna be pretty much it for this review. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Definitely let me know what you guys thought about this one shot in the comments below. And yeah, that'll wrap this one up. Be sure to hit the like button if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe to my channel if you guys are new. And I hope you guys have a good day or night whenever you guys are watching this video. I'm Rewinds, and I'm out.